often are asking for consistency. I feel like it's going to be the biggest test here, right? This is the moment where it's like not letting that get to you mentally and still being able to perform when it matters. We're bringing up Battleground for game number 5, figuring out where we're headed. It's Towers of Doom, ladies and gentlemen, as Simplicity ends up selecting it.
Yeah, Towers of Doom, kind of that always go-to fallback map for Simplicity. It's whenever their backs are against the wall. This is also the battleground that I'm curious where Hanzo lies in this, because if it's a hosty Hanzo, we might get that double support, which has been something that works quite a bit of times. When they get hosty on the Hanzo, we'll see that Uther come out for Zuna. He already said, look, I'm putting on the big boy pants. We're getting on Kerrigan. Maybe he's got some more tricks up his sleeve to kind of seal the deal here.
It'll be interesting to see if we see that. Also, on the same note, the Haka priority. We saw in the last game, willing to be first pick worthy on a battleground like this. Towers of Doom, Temple Storm, I feel like you guys were the first to, bring it to light, where it's like, well, the high priority on the bottom half of the map. Granted, the bottom zappers are not nearly as big of a deal. So do we think that that's still going to be a priority for either team?
I feel like it should be, just because of the fact that Simplicity did go with first pick the last time around, which meant that, they were prepared to play first pick on towers, in which case I assume they would have gone with the same game plan with picking the Dahaka. So we'll have to see how it goes if GFE does decide to deny them that. But honestly, I don't know if GFE will. I feel like GFE's priorities are a bit on the other heroes, the Garage, the Maiev, the Jaina, as we've seen so far.
Dread, you and I have talked about this at length now, but if you're ever going to get a battleground where, one, the Garage obviously has high priority, but number 2, the Junkrat. Ultimate poke on this battleground, I think, does very well. We've seen Michael Udall use it to great effect, but if they're going to go down that Junkrat Jaina route, I mean, it seems like this would be the map, but I really wonder where Junkrat comes in here.
A media ban onto the Medivh. Again, I'm going to assume that we see the Maiev out of the side of Simplicity. If we do see an adjustment, no, not even going to see it here. That has been all 5 games between these two teams. We've got Maiev and Medivh taken off the table.
Maiev.
I
throw it all into
continuously.
one. No, it's fine. It makes sense.
The Maiev meta, it's like the Miranda meta.
You miss it?
No, I don't. Fan, do you miss the Miranda meta?
Nope.
All right, well, now we solved that one. Malfurion first pick here for Gale vs. Esports. Still leaving up the opportunity to move into that Garrosh if they would like. I'm going to assume that we can expect a Jaina in the 2-1, 2-3 out of Gale Force Esports almost every time they have the opportunity. Still going to stick to the Garrosh Stukov, 1-2 for Simplicity.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm surprised they didn't pick up the Dahaka here. Should be... I don't know if I agree with the Garrosh pickup. I mean, it makes sense when you look at it just from a draft perspective. Like, Garrosh 1-2 is perfectly fine. But like I said earlier, Cav seem to be doing better on the other tanks, so we'll have to see how this plays out. It still denies Fury Garrosh, which is very important, but yeah.
I really wonder where Fury goes with this. I mean, obviously the Johanna, if you want to pair with the Jaina, you can kind of bring people in, get the follow-up. But Tyrael, ooh, that's an early Dahaka.
I was going to say, one area we could see a huge mix-up in this type of draft. Granted, Gale Force Esports, I don't necessarily know would be the one to be able to mix that up, but it is one of the battlegrounds, and I feel like a cheeky play where you go Malfurion to the Tracer Diablo in that rotation, pick up the Diablo to be able to deny any, counter to the Tracer, and it's a battleground where you see that effectiveness. Instead, we get the Dahaka that was kind of let through by Simplicity, and then, that Hanzo still sticking to the norm here. No surprise for the two teams, but we did get no Jaina out of that too. Granted, I guess, the Hanzo gaining higher priority purely to be able to get that threat onto the Garrosh, and that global is too much.
They've played Hanzo 4 times through the entirety of this year so far.
And now we've almost gotten 4 games in just one series from that.
It feels like
it's crazy.
Yeah, their priority on Hanzo is definitely going up, as is... I think Hanzo in North America in general, just the priority is going up as we move closer and closer towards mid-season. But I'm okay with that pick. I mean, that could have been a Jaina as well. I think both Jaina and Hanzo are pretty good into Garrosh. Both of them are... they can effectively outrange Garrosh. Jaina doesn't have the long range, but she does have the slow, which makes Garrosh, like, he's not going to catch you if he's slowed all the time. So both of them can poke into Garrosh.
The Anubarak has given them problems. They now ban that out. So now you look at the likes of a Tyrael, and you also look at the likes of an ETC. I think both of which you look at the secondary option. We've seen it before. You had Malfurion, and then you had all kinds of safety options like the Blaze. Now all of a sudden you take away. Dahaka isn't one of those safety options. He doesn't have a lot of crowd control. Yes, he can land tongues, but in terms of those big skirmishes, he doesn't have the same effect. So now taking away a Nubrak who does have quite a bit of control. I actually really like that ban. It's one of the few times, I think, given that we're 5 games deep now into this, it makes a lot of sense to me.
I agree with you. Kind of that, you know, inner meta or inter-series meta kind of evolving between the two teams, where you see that ban being targeted, where normally if this was game 1, you'd be like, in a Nubrak ban there, it just doesn't seem like it's going to pack the punch that we would need. Well, what are we looking for here for Simplicity? Still need to find that offlaner and the backline. Blaze, or is there anything that we would expect to be able to trade well into the Dahaka on the offlane? I personally always am a fan of seeing that Blaze. We see the Genji as well, committed with that high amount of kill potential.
Yeah, so those are pretty common meta picks there, but pretty good heroes so far. I guess Hosty might be on the Genji, but it might be Zuna as well. That's the one thing I was wondering about this draft, was with the Medivh banned out, the Phoenix gone, and the Hanzo taken, what is Hosty going to play here?
Yeah, the Genji, so far, when it comes to Zuna and Genji, he's winless so far. And it's been a limited amount. I mean, we've had 3 games prior to this weekend, so yeah, I'm curious how that will work out. I mean, Abathur, obviously, I think is still, you know, maybe in consideration, but again, that goes into that one-dimensional style. For Simplicity, I feel like they need to play a little bit more standard, but for Gale Force here, obviously secondary damage dealer, do we get a Junkrat, do we get a Jaina, or are they going to go completely different than what we've seen?
I'm still not against the Diablo Tracer rotation. I'm not kidding. I feel like it would pack a lot of punch. I don't think we're going to see it, but it's just like out of the wild, like, hey, we don't see this too often. I feel like it's still enabled very well, especially with the Genji, the point-and-click hard crowd control to be able to gap close on him, make him a problem. We get the Tracer, but we don't get the Diablo. Instead, it's going to be with an ETC.
Pretty similar, though.
Yeah, pretty similar. I didn't expect the Tracer, honestly. I know I talked about it twice, but I just expected Gale Force to pull away from it.
Yeah, so with this, Gale Force is pretty much committing to a hyper poke style of team composition. Their 4-man does not have any wave clear outside of Hanzo at level 4, which is not good enough to clear a wave by itself. So they want to skirmish constantly, and they want to be bringing down the Dahaka every chance they get for the 5v4. Their team comp just screams, you know, all-out skirmish, non-stop fighting.
But do you feel like the Hanzo backliner caters to the kill potential of the Tracer ETC Malfurion that is necessary within the 4-man? Like, do you think it provides enough of that threat, or is that Hanzo a little bit kind of off on their intent?
I think it's okay. It's more going to be just the constant poke pressure and lower their HP before the fight starts. As far as the all-in goes, it's not the best. Arrow is okay at 10, but I think they're going to count on Hanzo to just lower their HP pools as much as possible before it even begins. Just kind of constantly skirmish.
Get ourselves a last pick, Li Ming here. Likely going to be just to make sure that they have an opportunity to be able to get any kind of interrupt if they would like onto the mosh pit capabilities, while also having that double reset.
Yeah, you know, it's just one of the times. Tychus has fallen off tremendously, and he talked about, you know, the poke style on the side of Gale Force, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, ETC generally is one of the things that historically, it's like, look, if ETC can't engage and he's just, you know, soaking damage, obviously you can cycle out some of that armor, but he's just kind of like a punching bag as well. You got to really kind of be aggressive in that situation. Li Ming, obviously a lot of skill shots. Genji, not exactly, you know, the poke monster that we would get from somebody else. So I'm not terribly surprised. I'm just a little bit surprised because it is all skill shots, all coordination, full team composition that one person's not getting a kill. It requires 2 to 3 to 4 people to confirm 1 kill against this composition. That, it's possible, but I think it's going to be difficult.
I agree. And, you know, Simplicity, one of the beauties or maybe kind of flaws of a double reset composition is it can look really good, really fast. Like it makes a fight go from this is even to this didn't even look close from beginning to end. But it can very easily kind of be shut down if you do a good job of stopping that kind of opener here. The question is there going to be enough on the side of Gale Force to be able to hold that off? And I guess we're going to have to find out. We got Game 5 here on Towers of Doom to figure out who's going to be going up against Team Freedom almost immediately after here.
Going to see which team can clutch it out right now, Dreadnought, because Gale Force, after falling last time, they're going to try and seal the deal here as it's going to be Biggie on that Tracer. Michael Udall, his hand on the Hanzo. B-Kid, he's going to be playing the global of Dahaka. Fury, of course, on the front line with ETC and Akaface. One more time, trying to keep this team alive. They're on the Malfurion.
And in the red here, Simplicity looking for this upset. They're going to have Hosty on that Li Ming. K1 Pro playing the Stukov. Next up is King Caffeine on his Garrosh. We've got Zuna repping the Genji, and last up, Prismaticism in that offlane playing the Blaze.
You know, if there's one person in a game clinching, you know, for the series, a series clinching game that I want on Tracer, it's going to be Biggie. He does so well on this. He can be very aggressive, but it's very tempered, and I think it's very impactful when he does, no pun intended. There's going to be an instant follow-up.
They get the burrow and passive use.
Well, there's a reset.
It's going to be only the first reset there had. First blood now going over to Simplicity.
Well, I mean, I think this is a bit of an anomaly in terms of how we expect this to play out. Obviously, the big skirmish mid, Hosty doing a very good job of landing the skill shots. I don't think it's too much of a sign of times to come, but definitely, you know, opportunity that we're going to see. Hosty's going to do it, I think, a lot between... Oh, wait a minute. This might trade some kills. Prismat.
Able to dodge. Good job with the post bomb. See you, nerd. That is going to be a kill response on the side of Gale Force. Sending it back 1-1. That was an amazing dodge on the drag. It was very, very well done. Everything there on the side of Prismaticism. Just a four-man gank too much here from GFE.
It's a good trade there if you're on the side of Gale Force, definitely getting things back in your control. We're going to see Sapper Camp focused here, 1 minute in. We'll see if we get any rotation over, but King Caffeine obviously able to hold point there. Just kind of keeping an eye on things, anchoring if needed. Not going to be needed. It's going to be the Sapper Camp picked up, and I think it's just going to be kind of trade-off here one more time.
Yeah, with the Genji displayed on the top half of the map, no in-fade capabilities whatsoever for Simplicity. Try and risk this over. Normally with a double reset composition, though, this is what you're doing. You invade that all day. Want to make that kind of happen there. So for whatever reason, with the rotation on the top half of the map and the lack of the pressure here, now Simplicity has to deal with the match of the even, you know, kind of matchup on the bottom half of the map. That in mind, though, for a double reset composition, immediately your first concern most of the time is going to be, man, my opponents have way better wave clear than me, and I'm probably going to really struggle to keep up on the map. Blaze into the Dahaka, slightly, you know, Dahaka, because he has a global, technically pulls ahead in the macro front. But again, we talked about it with the four-man. It's really reliant on kill potential as well. So I would say Gale Force has a slight advantage, but not so much that I'd be like, wow, double reset composition. How is it ever going to come back once it falls behind? That in mind, though, if you lose a bottom bell tower for any one of these teams, it's going to be a hard time.
Well, the one thing that definitely helps there is we saw K1 Pro. When those sappers want to charge, Lurking Arm counts as a silence towards those sappers, and it can stop them from potentially charging into those if it does come to that. We'll see how that plays out. You know, Dahaka build going into a little bit of North American flavor, obviously going into the extra essence at level 1, so that will be a quest talent to keep an eye on. Not going the extra movement speed, so keep an eye on that. But Hanzo as well, going into Redemption, Explosive Arrow at 4, probably get that armor reduction at 7. Good control. I always love that build against the Garrosh on most battlegrounds.
But look at this top left channel, double kind of rotation on the side of Gale Force Esports. Big Impact actually finding himself a nice little Zuna there. But it leads to a channel on the top left. Prismat and friends end up getting the top right. I was going to say this rotation might be too slow for anything to happen, but it does look like Simplicity, as long as they get this next interrupt, Hosty able to land those magic missiles. Zuna, though, that was a bit of miscommunication. Jet propulsion as well, but no follow-up damage because Zuna, again, with that switch strike. But look at Akaface getting flipped over there, completely isolated, but he gets flipped into his team. The deflect is not going to negate that pulse bomb damage. Big Impact tracking down Zuna, not going to get the kill. Power slide comes through, on to 2. Simplicity now looking to retreat.
They're looking to retreat, but I think they're going to be trying to re-engage here. You know, they're trying to get the heals up, wait for that bio kill switch to come off cooldown. Should be here momentarily. K1 Pro starting to spread those heals around. You can see that we also saw Dahaka join the middle of that fight, create a little bit of disruption on the backside. So they continue the poke, continue the heals. K1 Pro, one good spread, getting value as the sustain continues here, getting that cooldown reduction as long as it spreads to 3 members. And in these skirmishes, it's going to have a tremendous amount. So we're going to see Dahaka split off, try and soak a little bit in the meantime, but the fight will continue here, Dred.
Yeah, another Alka attempt at that channel. Fury maybe moving up, or Cap, excuse me, moving up for a flip attempt on the Fury. Not going to execute quite yet. Oil thrown down. Zuna looking to poke and prod. Mikey Dahl going to track him down there, saying, nah, this Genji's out of position. Trading positively, colossally there. Knockback. It's not going to secure the kill, but it buys time for Akaface. Gets... Oh, man, does not get the channel there. Actually, good interrupt from Li Ming.
Yeah, I don't think they can sustain this much longer. Hosty and K1 Pro doing as much as they can, but that is going to be 4 additional shots going over. 2 out of 3 channeled in favor of Gale Force.
I really want to see Simplicity do a better job of invading these camps. Again, macro is non-existent-ish on both sides of the battlefield, minus your offlaner. So with that, you got to be looking at who's got the more kill potential within the four-man. I don't want to necessarily say Simplicity has better kill potential, but I definitely say that their composition, if they get that one skirmish, they're going to get more within that short time frame. And the fact that they're even getting invaded, to be honest with you, that seems so backwards from what their composition should be able to secure.
Zuna obviously going the extra spell armor when he does use that agility, trying to survive in there. And he kind of pre-initiated with that. It's one of those things that going up against the pulse bomb can help out there. And you mentioned invades, Dreadnought. Gale Force actually turning the tide there, getting the invade, getting the steal. Unfortunately, those sappers going to be locked in place, but now there's 3 more that they're going to have to deal with on the side of Simplicity. Again, Stukov does incredibly well to deal with that. King Caffeine not able to get the knock up onto Biggie there. But right now, I mean, things pretty even. I mean, 2 to 3 2 to 3 altars early game, pretty insignificant in the long run, but we'll see where this plays out.
Yeah, one of the biggest counter arguments I think when looking towards, when I'm talking about the invade versus who's getting the invade that you can make is, well, Gale Force has the global on their side of the battlefield, right? So you go, well, they have the opportunity to make those bigger plays. But again, with the skirmishing capabilities that Simplicity has, even if you just drew the Dahaka down, Blaze has enough wave clear that you get something somewhere else onto the map. And I just feel like Simplicity is not maybe gaining as much 1 through 9 as they could be. That in mind, this is one of the few compositions that where you go, their kill potential in 1 through 9 is amazing, and then you go, but after 10, it struggles. It doesn't. It's still equally as good. The question is there enough kind of pause buttons on the side of Gale Force to make sure that first reset doesn't happen? Got double altar spawning. Aka's going to start the channel down below while Genji starts middle channel.
I don't think they're going to get the interrupt here. There goes down the oil just in range. Is going to be enough for Prismat. Dahaka's putting enough pressure on the middle. We can see that on the minimap. Akaface looks like he should be able to confirm this channel as level 10. Dangerously close here for Simplicity. See if they can pick that up, but also getting close here for Gale Force. So we might have a big team fight as Hosty continue to land. There's a little bit of stretch tongue action there, Dread.
Able to get the drag on to Zuna. Fury, though, zoned off. And shot's going to be secured here, by Simplicity. Now we find ourselves 32 to 28. Just been rather patient. Outside of the first altar phase, somebody has to gain a lead most of the time, and the fact that it is 3. And now we find ourselves in a position to where really it's just been kind of a stalemate after that point.
Level 10 picked up here by Simplicity. Nothing out of the ordinary. I wonder if we might have a shot at Disintegrate. I mean, obviously Mosh Pit a big part of that. And we are going to get a Mosh Pit regardless of the Lurking Arm, regardless of the massive shove, and regardless of the wave of force. So obviously Hosty has to make sure that he does hold on to that for those key moments. Same can be said for K1 Pro. Obviously he might try and initiate a little bit more, but wave of force, short enough cooldown generally should be the thing. But if Fury sees an opportunity and it being used, it could open this game wide up.
Sappers were taken by Simplicity on the top half. Gale Force got their Sappers a little bit later on the time frame, so much so that Simplicity will be able to make the rotation down for themselves. But Gale Force immediately got the clear on that middle lane. Let's see if they want to poke and prod back at another invade. Scattering Arrow at least to be able to reveal the area. Fury double checking to make sure nobody's on that.
There's a Dragon Arrow. 2 people caught out. Hosty's taking a lot of damage. Does have a little bit of spell armor left over there. Obviously going force armor at level 1. Whenever you land those magic missiles onto heroes, you do get a stack of spell armor. I think it definitely came in play there.
We got 20 seconds out from that bottom altar. Dahaka is worried about the top half of the map. Prismat has already made his rotation down. We'll see how long can Gale Force Esports kind of hold on. And will Simplicity be able to get their reset? Again, if Simplicity opens with a quick reset, it's likely there will be another one immediately after.
Here we go, Altar spawning. Dahaka still holding point up in that top lane, getting as much soak as he can before he finds his way down.
Cap is so low to be able to start this fight. He is going to get the heal there from K1 Pro. But it's definitely not optimal to be able to start a fight on that Garrosh at, kind of lower HP, because you want to use the top half of your HP pool to be able to move into your opponents, get in position just like he is now.
That bottom right bush where K1 Pro is lurking might be where that Brush Stalker comes in. We'll see if that comes into play here. Prismat starting the channel. Hosty continuing to pepper back with a little bit of damage of his own. Dahaka coming in. K1 Pro will be in sight. King Caffeine is on the inside. Tranquility's out. King Caffeine taking the pulse bomb. He's going to be the first one to go down.
And the Mosh Pit landing onto 2, but K1 Pro with that lurking arm ends up getting the interrupt. Dragon Blade out from Zuna ends up hacking apart there Fury getting another reset, 1-for-1 between the two teams. A frontliner for a frontliner. B-Kid now is the last man, actually all alone there on the side. 3-man's Dragon Arrow comes in. All the Simplicity gets inside this bunker, but you know they're not going to be able to make it out as they're so low. Nice heal from K1 Pro using his passive, but the drag lands on a Genji, and he's going to be out of here. Channel attempt for Akka, and likely going to be 4 more shots now for Gale Force.
Hosty playing with fire there, does land some magic missiles onto Biggie, but as you said, the Alter Channel, now we're looking at an 8 core health lead in favor of Gale Force. Simplicity, they're holding strong, Dread. They just haven't been able to really get the team fights that they kind of expected. They still have plenty of potential when they get into these to just turn this game around. But so far, Gale Force starting to eke ahead a little bit in core health, starting to eke ahead a little bit in terms of structure damage, because now the spot lane is exposed, and it's going to be a little bit under pressure. See if Simplicity makes their way down. They need to get down here to defend.
I was going to say, I'd like to see them put a lot higher priority on defending this, because we talked about how hard it's going to be to convert this back if they don't end up getting it for themselves. They do end up defending, but it is so low that that is easily prepped. Whenever Gale Force kind of want to, pay attention towards it, it's going to be pretty easy to convert that back into their favor. They're going to start the Sappers.
I mean, you can use the lurking arm, but I think the threat now, all it takes is one to get through a little bit of damage. It almost seems like a foregone conclusion unless Simplicity does try and take a big team fight. But right now, Biggie, again, there's going to be the Dragon Arrow. See if they can get the follow-up. Fury does go in aggressively, and now there's going to be the taunt onto Tracer, Dread.
Yeah, but the Tranquility ends up keeping it alive, dropping the recall. Big impact trying to keep himself up, but Li Ming ended up dropping on the backline. Deflect coming in for Zuna, ends up getting the reset and the damage. 2 members of Simplicity going down at the cost of big impact, but look at King Caffeine. 1 shot in the middle of that map there. Ends up getting the flip over and the heals from K1 Pro. He's going to survive.
For now, we're going to see, do we get another drag? There's going to be a power slide. Prismat trying to be the savior as well. Remember, bunker was used. There's going to be the drag, but the help there as the into the fray used by King Caffeine. Going to save another member, but down goes the bell tower. Sappers now will be threatening to cross that threshold. Alter now spawning as well, and there's nobody in the vicinity here for Simplicity. Again, Gale Force slowly but surely starting to gain more and more control over this battleground.
When is Simplicity going to be able to force that fight that they really want to be able to make happen, or at least in the manner that they would like to have happen? Most of the time, it just feels like Gale Force can kind of dance around long enough that, that surprise of the here's the opening. We even saw Simplicity for the first time try that invade, which I feel like at level 13, if you're going to go for that invade, it feels like it's too late to be able to rely on that, because now we're hitting post 13. That's defensive cooldowns, which if you have a one-shot composition, normally you want to aim for those kills before that threshold. So I just feel like now it does feel like it's kind of that breaking point where Gale Force has gained enough. Though experience is close, and these fights are close, they have gained enough on this map for it to be their series here.
That face melt almost bought enough real estate there, but the Sappers unable to make it through. Wave of Force used as well. Again, short, heroic cooldown, should be back. But Dread, the point that you brought up early was the fact that if you lose that bottom bell tower, that keep, so to speak, you're on the side of Simplicity. I mean, yes, you can go the extra magic missiles at level 16, get that mirror ball, but outside of that, your sieging potential and wave clear to get there is... well, it doesn't really exist.
Nah, Mike Udall found a new home, and it's called this bottom bell tower now. It's just stay here, poke and prod, throw out all the arrows that you have, and just make sure it is difficult to be able to get that free Li Ming damage, max rain orbs and such onto it. Eventually, Simplicity will be able to whittle away at it, but it is so far out into the future here. Hold up, though. This is going to be a big deal.
Oh, it's too early.
And
he did it too early.
Good night.
Dreadnought, now all of a sudden we're looking at a potential triple alter phase, which will bring the core health of Simplicity potentially down to 2, and a boss is available. Simplicity needs to at least channel 1 to save face here. Prismat, he's looking to get the interrupt up at the top left. But that is a major misplay. You cannot hide from that one, Dread.
Yeah, I was going to try and bring out my silver lining playbook here where I go, yeah, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He had the cooldown. He saw the pulse bomb. He had 0 pressure other than the pulse bomb. He pressed it too early.
Yeah.
Gonna have to be cleaned up here. Otherwise, Simplicity, again, if Simplicity drops this game, actually whoever drops this game, will end up losing that kind of dream towards the midseason brawl and really just kind of be, taking a timeout until phase 2.
Bottom lane under so much control here. 3 Sappers make it through. Bunker's put down. We're going to see Dahaka brush Stalker in. Tranquility already used as well, and they are fighting under the keep Dreadnought. I don't know how this is going to go because Simplicity is eating so much damage so early in this fight.
Yeah, Hosi trying to kite back and be able to keep himself alive. Vitant actually hitting 2 members of Gale Force. The Groundbreaker coming back, no reset yet, but big impact falling very low there. He used the Pulse Bomb onto Blaze, but he's going to be just fine. 3 Sappers now moving up to the Wall of Death. Gale Force Esports, will they get any shots with the Sappers? Knockback number 1. Not enough there. Is the first Sapper going to be cleared? Second and third here. Simplicity lose 0 shots and hold their own on that amazing team fight.
They're starting to get a little bit closer to regaining control over this. Again, experience, they don't find themselves terribly far behind, but it's the core health that matters. 1 altar, and then you lose 1 to 2 members in a team fight. Oh, there's going to be the instant blow-up. Tracer goes down. All of a sudden, we're looking at a new ballgame. I'm saying, hey, 1 altar and a boss. All of a sudden, things look different, but now Hosty making the big play.
Yeah, double reset compositions also get a lot of damage really fast, and good job there from Simplicity. But by no means is this game back into their control. That they have that 10 seconds where they're going to have the altars in the top half of the map. They likely can pick up a double altar. Unlikely that a boss is going to be that case. Gale Force Esports just wants to stall out until Tracer comes back to life.
Simplicity basically needs both here to improve their odds. There's the power slide in by Fury, but you can see all kinds of damage in return by Simplicity. Genji going to make his way over. Still a few seconds out before Tracer spawns. Simplicity starting to move forward. There's going to be the Swift Strike in. The orb lands.
Look at
B-Kid lurking though, Dread.
Yeah, he's looking to move up, but he has no mobility. He's going to use the isolation, and it's on the K1 Pro, but he's fine. Drag's going to be used, but B-Kid now kind of a bit split from the rest of the squad. King Caffeine still zoning there.
Hanzo
got the interrupt.
And Tracer. Tracer's now here. Tracer has taken the portal, now lurking in the bottom with Dahaka. Simplicity, they're in a very precarious spot here as they're now being flanked from both sides, and we'll see if they continue to maintain their position. Li Ming continuing to throw out orbs. Biggie now looking to make a play himself. See if Simplicity can claim this altar.
Groundbreaker attempt, nope, not going to be used there. Calf, you saw once that oil gets used, trying to abuse the fact that the mobility of the members of Gale Force is a little bit lower. They find Fury, not going to get the flip, but the combo from K1 Pro, jet propulsion follow-up as well. Genji ends up going in, Tranquility used, but Mike Udo ends up going down. There's the mosh pit to buy a little bit of time, post bomb onto Hosty. He's going to survive, but Tracer ends up locking it down. Now 1-1. Fury ends up going down. Now King Caffeine locking down Akaface. Big impact trying to get the kite out along with B-Kid. Simplicity is holding on to this fight, J-How.
They're surviving for now, but how much? So far, Zuna's trying to get the channel. The lurking arm's going to go. Simplicity seems like they've managed to hold in this fight. We saw a major blow up. The skill shot by Hosty to blow up the Hanzo originally. I thought for sure Gale Force might have been able to turn that around, but Simplicity, they're holding on. And I don't know how, but all of a sudden what looked like a game that was spiraling out of their control, momentum fully in favor of Simplicity.
And now they're in a position to convert that bottom bell tower. We talked about it. Yes, it's hard for Simplicity to get that bell tower converted back when they end up losing it. It's still difficult for Gale Force Esports. It is not in a position to where it is irrecoverable. You know, with Hanzo is pretty good at getting that siege damage, and Tracer, I mean, we don't look at her as a siege hero, but if she gets her auto attacks in, she can be still pretty good, consistent DPS there. So this is a great silver lining for Simplicity. It's just making sure that they hold it for themselves. Also, because they committed to the double sapper on the bottom half of the map, they sacrificed that top boss, and now they're pretty much almost any shrine phase is going to be a win condition for Gale Force.
Yeah, I mean, they do have 5-3 in terms of shots, but that's all that Simplicity, or excuse me, that's all that Gale Force needs to finish this game. We are looking at a single altar phase. Both teams will be level 20 soon as well. See what happens here. If Gale Force, they got to be careful on how aggressive they want to be. But they look to be trying to reclaim this, but it won't be in time as the next altar phase comes in. Let's see if Gale Force cycles up to that mid lane, looks for the rotation down onto that middle altar. I don't think they can hold position here because this choke is being cut off by Simplicity. They're starting to rotate out.
Gonna make the movement through mid. Even throwing out the Hanzo arrow over that town kind of portal. Prismatic is gonna be scouted over the mid lane. And they know there's a lot of posturing here. Dahaka hasn't done anything to show interest towards the bottom half, but he does have the Brush Stalker if needed. Zuna starts the channel. King Caffeine able to zone off, but the Dragon Arrow actually gets the interrupt. That's a major cooldown that they're not going to have for this team fight. B-Kid on the back line ends up coming in there. We see that massive shove actually missing. Isolation ends up missing here. There goes the taunt, locking down two. Zuna with the Dragon Blade, the flip over. That's
reset 1. Damage onto the other one. There's reset 2. But the death metal, death mosh gets the turnaround there. The Hosi ends up falling so low. He does get the reset there, recall back. This is 2 for 2, Jay.
Locked it in. That's all that they needed. He sat on it. Now Simplicity, they're trying to hold. We have a 3 versus 3 fight. Tanks, who needs them? We've got fights going out. Bunker is down. This is going to be all here. If Gale Force does claim this, Akafe starting the channel. Prismat's going to get the interrupt here momentarily. There's the root. The Nature's Cure goes on to Biggie, starting to eat a lot of damage.
They have to kill Akka. Akka is going to be the largest indicator towards the survivability. Double DPS plus support cannot keep up with double warrior and that support. Eventually, the double DPS should be able to pull ahead unless they get a kill onto the support. Mike falls low. Jet Propulsion uses that Cyber Agility.
King Caffeine, though. King Caffeine, he's got the taunt. Can they get the kill? There's going to be the toss over. That's going to be the taunt. There's going to be the root going down. Akaface falling so low, but Biggie starting to get the damage onto K1 Pro. That's going to be it. That's going to be the takedown. Biggie getting the pulse bomb. Biggie
goes in, gets another one, forcing now the bunker. Akaface looking to go back and start this channel. He is going to be able to end this game here if he completes it. And Blaze unable to move through and stop it. Gale Force Esports will end up taking Towers of Doom and moving on to the next round of North American playoffs.
That, I mean, Biggie alone, Dreadnought. I said if there's one person you want on a Tracer in a series clinching game, I'd say that Biggie more than held his own there, but Michael Udall on that Hanzo was nothing to slouch at. The amount of heroics between the Dragon's Arrow and that isolation, going for the major isolation of that choke, was just off, and I was like, oh no. But that Death Mosh from Fury, there's a reason why pros hold that level 20 talent until it's absolutely necessary. He's like, well, I'm going out, but I'm going out with a bang, and he just locked it in.
Fan, gotta ask, man. I thought you couldn't top Game 4, but it turns out you can. We got a Game